Welcome. Today is Wednesday, October the 26th, 2022. This is a regular meeting of the Pitkin County Board of County Commissioners. And first thing on our agenda today, and I have 4 commissioners in the room. Francie Jacober is traveling for a family emergency, and we have staff here, so we're ready to roll. Are there any additions or deletions to today's agenda?
I'm on. There are none. Sorry
Okay.
about that.
Thank you. So the next item on our agenda is public comment. This is for items that are not on today's agenda. So if there's any members of the public wishing to speak, either *9 to raise your hand, or if anybody in the room would like to speak on an item not on our agenda. And I don't think we have anybody, but we'll give a few minutes. Okay, if there anybody wants to speak that's online, *9 to raise your hand. This is for items not on today's agenda. Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close the public comment, bring it back to the board for commissioner comments. Who would like to go first? Steve Child.
Good morning. A couple of reminders for people with the season we are in is election season, and you can return your ballots in any of the ballot drop boxes in the county already, and you can pick up your I voted stickers when you do that. So I urge everybody to exercise your right to be part of our democracy and to please fill out your ballots and return them. The sooner you return them, that makes it easier on the county elections staff for tabulating things ahead of time and not having to do everything at the last minute on election night. Also, with the snow we have had, their roads are very slippery in places because the temperature is right at freezing. The snow is getting glazed on different locations, and I urge people to be really cautious, and when you're going up the back country roads in the county I would advise just not to go up as high where some people usually are used to going all through November because the way it is right now, I understand up on Capitol Creek Road, it is so slippery up there right now that it is treacherous. So go with caution, and if you don't have the right equipment, plan on walking or maybe possibly even cross-country skiing already in some places. So enjoy the snow, and I personally hope a lot of it melts here pretty soon.
I was going to say, when are you going to lay tracks at your place?
Not yet. We're not ready for that.
All right, other commissioners would like to. Greg, please.
Yeah, I appreciate Steve commenting on the ease of voting. The accessibility of voting is such a privilege to have here. Our Secretary of State said something that resonated with me yesterday. She said, and we hear this a lot, but I believe her when she says this election, and we've got 14 days to decide the fate of our democracy. And I agree with her, and I believe that's true. And all I can do is ask people to get their kids, their family, everybody out to vote. Anybody who's legally able to vote should be voting in this election. And it could never be more serious than it is right now. The other thing I was going to say was I sent an email this morning to Patty and also to John just regarding the Star Peak Wilderness proposal, and I realized I hadn't circled back, and so maybe we'll get that on a future agenda.
Okay, I printed it off and it's on my desk, so I will remember.
Okay, great. We'll keep working
we
on
have
that.
a couple.
It's called the GORP Act.
Yeah. Does that mean we get to climb into Gorp?
You can always do that. Thank you.
Okay, Kelly.
Yeah, I'll just add on for anyone who has questions about where to find election information, where you can vote, how to update registration or register for the first time. If you've lived in Pickens County or Colorado for more than 22 days, so as of October 17th, please go to pitkinvotes.com, and that is your resource for all election questions about Pickens County voting.
And I'm going to just add to that specifics. There are drop boxes here in front of the county building. There's a drop box at Basalt Town Hall. There's a drop box at Snowmass Town Hall. And as of Monday, November the 7th, which is the day before the election, you will need to be doing your voting, et cetera, except for the drop box here at the County Administration Building. You need to be going to the Jewish Community Center on Main Street. And on Election Day, we'll also have a drop box in Redstone for the people that live up the Crystal if they would like to drop their ballots. And I believe Monday is the last day to be able to vote your ballot, mail your ballot. So if you want to be sure your ballot gets here before 7 o'clock on Tuesday, the 8th of November, please take it to a drop box. You can just drive by here, or it's my understanding too, if you happen to be in Carbondale, you can drop it there, and Garfield County will make sure your ballot gets up here to Pickens County. But better to be safe and bring it into one of the Pickens County drop boxes. So that is of critical importance. And as Steve said, be careful out there. The roads are, what did you say? It was messy? What was the term?
Sloppy.
Sloppy. It is. It's, you're not quite sure, so be careful with your footing while walking in and around town or anywhere right now. Apparently they got hit harder mid-valley than we got hit up here with snow. I just put in a call for, see how much snow we got on Aspen Mountain last night and this morning. I just hope we have a couple sunny days. I still have one more rose to plant in my front yard. I'm hoping to get it in the ground. So, okay, all of that being said, board ready, we can go on with the meeting? Perfect. Okay, first item on our agenda is a minutes of October the 12th, 2022 regular meeting. There any corrections or comments to the minutes? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion, I have a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Thank you, Julia. Next is our confirmatory reading public hearing. This is an emergency resolution of the Board of County Commissioners modifying existing resolution and granting approval for a minor amendment to a development permit for Elam Construction. This was continued from October the 12th for noticing. It was an emergency resolution due to the need to complete a Highway 82 Main Street construction project. And so that's why the board passed it on an emergency basis, and everything went smooth. Literally, the pavement went down smooth, and it got done within that 24-hour time frame. So, Rye, I don't know if there's any.
I don't have anything else to add. As you said, this was adopted on first read, or I'm sorry, the emergency reading on September 28th and continued from October 12th. Staff's recommendation is to approve it on confirmatory reading today.
Okay, and this is a public hearing. So if there's any members of the public wishing to comment on this item on our agenda, please star 9 to raise your hand. Or anybody in the room who would like to comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the board. I want to thank the board for acting on this on the emergency resolution basis. I know that the Sutzman Gerbaz and Elam and the other company, United, who was doing the paving up by the roundabout, between the ABC and the roundabout, where everybody was very appreciative of getting this done. Greg?
I was just going to say, we had a meeting about this before with them when they came in, and I'm satisfied with the way everything went down. I'd make a motion that we approve the emergency resolution, modifying the existing resolution and granting approval for a minor amendment to the development permit for Elam Construction.
Thank you.
I'll second.
I have a motion, I have a second. Any further comment? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you, thank you. Thanks, Rye.
Thank you.
Next is an individual consideration item. This is an emergency reso, set for confirmatory public hearing on November the 2nd. This is a resolution for the Board of County Commissioners authorizing a SNAP outreach sub-award, never heard that one, agreement between Hunger Free Colorado and the Board of Commissioners on behalf of Pickens County Human Services. Sam Lander-Casper, I'm hoping that you can explain to the public what SNAP is and what a sub-award, I like that new word. And I believe we need to move Sam up to participant status, is that correct?
Hi there, can you hear me?
Hi, we can hear you. Thanks, Sam.
I don't know why I don't have a camera option right now, but I guess I'll just be a voice in the room. So great questions around the subaward agreement and what SNAP is. SNAP is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, which provides food assistance benefits to low-income individuals in Colorado, and it's a federal program as well. And what is going on here is since 2017, the Human Services Department has been receiving grant funds through Hunger Free Colorado, who receives funds from the
Oh, Sam, wait a minute, we lost you. You're on mute.
You should be back.
All right.
Okay, you're
Just
back.
added
Oh,
me.
there you are. You're back. Hi.
There. All right, so I'll go back. So since 2017, we've been receiving these grant funds from Hunger Free Colorado, who receives funding through the Colorado Department of Human Services to conduct SNAP outreach. So SNAP is a program that's typically under-enrolled. We see that there are a lot more folks who are receiving Medicaid than are receiving SNAP, and the income limits are very similar. So these funds are used to help promote the SNAP program, to outreach to individuals who may be eligible, get them enrolled, help reduce barriers to the program. Another nice thing about this is that the Colorado Health Foundation also matches the funds that come in through Hunger Free Colorado. So we're really getting kind of a double bang for our buck here with this program. And the reason it's coming as an emergency resolution is because Hunger Free doesn't know what their budget's going to be until the end of the fiscal year. So they get their budget in early October, and then we have to get this agreement signed so that we can still, because we're still conducting these outreach activities, we need to get this signed by the end of the month so that we can backbill for the month of October for the allowable activities that we've been conducting with this program.
Okay, and Sam, if the board moves this forward today, if you get it cleared through Julia, do you need my signature? Because I will be looking for it to come through on DocuSign, and I will get it back as soon as possible.
That would be great. Yes, anything we can do to get it back to them by the end of the month would be really helpful.
Yeah,
as long as everybody approves of it. Are there any questions around how these
Does the
funds
board
work
have
or
any
the
questions with
activities
this?
they're going?
Nope. Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board for motion on emergency resolution. And Sam, correct that the second reading will be on November the 2nd. Will be
That's
our
correct. I
confirmatory
think
reading.
the meeting got moved around, or I just missed it and left it on the 9th there in the AIS. So,
And Kelly,
sorry
Kelly
about
does have a question for you, Sam.
Yeah, sorry, Sam. My understanding was that during the pandemic, our SNAP enrollment went higher. Did that fall again? Are we targeting people to get back onto SNAP, or are we targeting new folks to join the program?
So during the pandemic, our enrollment fluctuated greatly. It has tailed off back to about where we were pre-pandemic. The real difference, and the folks we're really trying to connect with, is we have currently around 2,000 individuals who are receiving Medicaid coverage, and only about 250 individuals receiving SNAP assistance. When in reality, if you are eligible for Medicaid, it's likely that you're also eligible for SNAP. Granted, a portion of those folks are locked in, is what they're calling it, due to the pandemic, and will probably fall off Medicaid. But our typical Medicaid enrollment is still around 1,600 individuals. So we're really trying to reach out to those people, the ones who are eligible for Medicaid but not enrolled in SNAP, and getting them enrolled if we can.
All right, thank you.
And Sam, has consideration been given, as far as income levels, to the fact that because of inflation, et cetera, a lot of employees were provided with raises, or at least one-time funds? And we wanna make sure that the federal government stays up with the fact that communities are trying to give some kind of, sustainable living wage, for people, that still doesn't take them out of the need for Medicaid services or SNAP, but provides them with a little more to cover the inflationary costs. And I don't know if that's become an issue or if there's something we might need to be looking at.
As far as I've heard, nothing is really being talked about specifically, but I think if you have any opportunity to advocate for that, whether the farm bill's coming up or because that's where that SNAP funding comes from, that would be very helpful. You know, we're really focusing on self-sufficiency standard as a measure of livability for folks here. And obviously the SNAP income limits and Medicaid are far below self-sufficiency standard.
But, so Sam, I'm gonna ask you a favor, if you would send me off a quick little email so it's in my file, and I will remember that when we're talking with, our senators and, looking at federal legislation, we might wanna do a letter of support for something in that direction. I don't wanna forget it.
Absolutely.
Great, thanks, Sam. Okay, so bring it back to board. So, Steve, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the emergency resolution authorizing a SNAP outreach subaward agreement between Hunger Free Colorado and our BOCC.
Great. I have a motion, I have a second. Further comments? Seeing none. Thank you so much, Sam. I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, next item. Individual consideration items, first reading, set for public hearing on November the 2nd. This is a resolution of the Board of County Commissioners, number 051-2021. It's amending reso number 051-2021, approving an amended intergovernmental agreement between Pickens County, Aspen School District, Aspen Valley Hospital, City of Aspen, Town of Snowmass Village, for the purchase of vital mental health services. Larissa and Jordana, do I have both of you here with us? Oh, look.
Hi, Patty Jordana is on the line, Public Health Director, although it says Phyllis, and I think Larissa is just being added as a panelist. We are happy to bring this forward today. We know mental health has been an issue in our community as far back as when it was identified in 2017 in our community health assessment. Again, in 2021, our community mental health assessment recognized that there were still challenges with the lack of provider, long waits to get into mental health care, a lack of coordinated care, and affordability continues to be an issue. And so what this IGA allows us to do is pool funding with the funders that you mentioned, and this has been a process that has been going on since some strategic planning happened with those original funders in 2017. But this year we are having the addition of Snowmass Village, who's bringing an additional $80,000 to the joint project. Any questions?
Does anybody, Phyllis, did you have anything to add? Okay. Any questions, comments? Kelly?
I'll just comment thank you to Snowmass Village for contributing to this important contract, providing mental health services in our schools.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I like having them on board with this. It's great. Okay, so I'm bringing this back to the board to entertain a motion to approve, set for public hearing on second reading on November the 2nd.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion. I have a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you. Thank you, ladies. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, have a great afternoon.
Okay, we are moving to individual consideration items. First, this is a one reading. This is a resolution supporting the Aspen Ambulance District ballot question. And just so everyone knows, this is the first time I, as a commissioner, have ever been a presenter at one of our regular meetings. So I am going to present this resolution, and thanks for people who helped me to create the language of the resolution. This is a resolution to support a ballot question being put on by the Board of County Commissioners acting as a board for the Aspen Ambulance District. This is the need for a sustainable funding source to provide services through the Aspen Ambulance District. And I know that there's a lot of people who are confused. The money comes through the county. Aspen Valley Hospital is under contract with the county to be the fiscal agent to help manage the Aspen Ambulance District. The concerns that we're being faced with today, as we all are with inflation, are the cost of supplies, et cetera, specifically the technology, the training with the new technology, the fact an ambulance has gone from about $150,000 to around $300,000 to replace. The fact we have two well-trained, highly trained first responder crews on with 2 ambulances, so that's 4 crew members, 2 ambulances. They're not on call, they are in the house at the ambulance barn 24 hours a day, 365 days out of the year. The ambulance district provides not only emergency first response, but they also help with local clinics for health fairs, vaccination, immunization clinics. They do a lot of education training from CPR to acute care, life support, ACLS, you name it. They also respond to whitewater incidents, backcountry incidents, wildfires, car fires, accidents on the highway, bicycles, climbers, you name it. The ambulance is there when you call them. Help is on the way, as we like to say. I am presenting this to the Board of County Commissioners to approve a resolution supporting this ballot question. And I'm also asking the voters of Pickens County, of the ambulance district, which is about the same boundaries as the Aspen Fire District, to please vote yes on ballot question 6A. So I'm going to bring it back to the board for comments. Steve?
Well, I don't live in the Aspen Ambulance District. I live, used to be the Basalt Rural Fire Protection District, and now it's Roaring Fork
Fire and Rescue.
Fire, which includes Snowmass Village and Basalt areas. And we have had to use their ambulance service when my wife had her ruptured appendix about 10 years ago. And I seriously believe she would not have survived if it hadn't been for prompt response from the ambulance service to get her and very carefully transport her to the hospital for surgery. Ambulances are really important when you need them. You might not think about it on a normal day, but then when you do have an emergency, you would be really glad to have 2 full crews at the Aspen Ambulance District. And oftentimes both the crews are busy because we have people getting injured during the ski seasons and on automobile accidents and in backcountry incidents all the time. They are going out to help people. Now, one reason we need to ask for this ballot question to raise their funds is the ambulance responds to many calls, but they do not get reimbursed at all by the insurance company unless they actually transport somebody. So they go there, they give aid, and if they don't transport somebody, they don't get paid a dime by the insurance company. So that is really a good reason why the community in general needs to support the ambulance district, because we all need the service. Hopefully most people won't need to use it in their lifetimes, but just having it there saves lives and makes all of our lives safer. So I urge people to vote yes for this ballot measure.
Thanks. Greg, please. Greg,
Sure.
thank you for helping to design the yard signs.
Yard signs, yeah.
They became the ad signs.
I
They
can be
became.
accused of littering. But this is important, as Steve pointed out. I was, if the ambulance doesn't get paid for a call because they didn't transport anybody, they still have extended all their services, and they're incurring great costs. The other side of that is the insurance companies simply aren't ponying up what the actual costs are anymore. They've negotiated or demanded to pay less, and they won't pay a penny more apparently. And we've got a real pinch there. If you add that to the inflation that we're all experiencing, the cost of doing any sort of service or business with vehicles and trained crews and equipment, everything has gone up. So it's unfortunate. I know there are a lot of people out there who would just say no to any sort of new tax measure, but this is one that our lives depend upon this. Our safety and health in the community depend upon having this service. And it's a little ironic. One of the letters I saw to the paper was written by a friend and gentleman who previously had written a letter to us criticizing us because the ambulance hadn't moved quickly enough. And so now he was criticizing because there's a tax measure to help support the ambulance. So I think we have to look at the criticisms of this very carefully and understand what it is we're paying for. And I have complete trust in the district and in Gabriel Muthing, who manages it so ably. We need to give him the resources to do a good job. So I'm going to vote for it, and I encourage everyone else to as well.
Great, thank you. I'll chime in. Kelly, please.
Yeah, I would point out that the value, the value of this has been illustrated by my colleagues. The cost of it to voters, in an easy way that I remember, is if you have a home worth $1 million, your bill is $76.25 to the ambulance district per year, which, should you need it, I would think most would willingly write that check out of pocket at any time. And I was surprised that there was a time where we only had one ambulance crew on at any time in a 24-hour day, because gosh, wouldn't you think you would, if you were the second one to need one, you would still get one? So I hope the voters consider that when they go and look at their ballots and support 6A this year.
Thank you. And just to add too, I just recently did an Aspen Affairs with ACRA, did a little interview, and one of the questions was about businesses. And so I think people need to know that the Board of County Commissioners, acting as the board for the ambulance district, was very careful in determining the amount and whether or not to put this ballot question on. And we asked for those numbers. Who are we serving out there? It came back about 60%. This is a really rough, but based on zip codes for billing. About 60% of the people served were from our local zip codes. The other thing is we were talking about the fact that the ambulance district services the hotels. They service the retails, the restaurants. It just doesn't stop at residential or Ute Trail, which we know there's a lot of calls on Ute Trail. And with the changing demographics of our community and of our visitors, and as I think we all know, we have more people out in the backcountry, many of whom should not be out in the backcountry. We have more people on the roads on bicycles. We have just more people enjoying the beauty of where we live in the outdoors. And accidents do happen. And again, you never want to think you have to call for help, that you have to call 911, that you're going to need emergency first aid or more critical care. But things happen that you don't plan. And another thing is we have a lot of visitors and guests who come to this community because we do provide excellent healthcare service. We have a hospital right here. They shop for those things. They shop for quality of care. And people, we be you a first-time skier on Buttermilk, or you be somebody who's used to climbing the Maroon Bells. You like to know that if you get in trouble, there's mountain rescue, and the ambulance district goes on calls with them, so everybody is prepared for whatever may happen, wherever it may happen, to whomever it may happen. So please, again, ballot question 6A is a critical question for critical care, and it's always nice to know that help is on the way for you, and in this case, it'd be nice for you to provide help is on the way to the ambulance district. So thank you. I'm going to bring it back to the board for a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you.
If I can find it in front of me. Where are we? 5, thank you. I make a motion we support the Aspen Ambulance District ballot question. That was hard.
And that is ballot question 6A.
6A.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion. I have a second. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. And thanks for all the help I got in preparing this resolution. So the next item on our agenda is an application for a modification of premises submitted by the Aspen Skiing Company for Bumps Restaurant. Jeanette, I have a question. Do we do public hearings on this?
No,
Thank you.
not required.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks
So
for-
Jeanette, please,
Thanks for
welcome.
checking. Hi.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
It's so nice to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you all. Jeanette Jones, the manager's office, and joining me at the table today is Henrietta Oliver and Dana Dalabetta. I hope I didn't mess up your name. And they're representing the Aspen Ski Company. So as maybe you all have noticed, there's some construction out at Bumps Restaurant, or the building, and this is a request for a modification of premises for extension of that liquor license boundary area, and it's submitted by the Aspen Ski Company for Bumps Restaurant, which the name is changing. We'll get to that in a minute. The Aspen Ski Company holds a hotel restaurant liquor license, and when you all approved their license, or maybe former commissioners approved it, there's a defined boundary that they can serve liquor in. And with this construction, the renovation, that boundary is changing, so I had to bring it to you all as the liquor licensing authority to approve this new boundary, and then it'll go to the state level to approve. And Dana, would you like to say anything, or?
Sure. Yeah, my name is
Don't want to put you on the hot seat.
Yeah, no problem.
Expand on anything.
Sure. I'm managing the construction out at the base of Buttermilk this summer, so we're reworking the entire base area. So we have a replacement to the old green building, and then Bumps is now going to be referred to as the Buttermilk Mountain Lodge. And upstairs, we'll have an expanded patio area, as Jeanette mentioned, and that area will be referred to as the backyard. So it'll be a great south-facing patio where people can hang out and après ski, and we're excited for everyone to see it this season.
So you do know, or maybe you don't know, because I don't think you were here, when they tried to change Buttermilk to Tyhack, the name, it did not go well. I was just thinking about that the other night when I was reading my packet. It was not Buttermilk, or it's there are people were adding to the signage out in front. So you do know that Bumps will always be Bumps.
Yes, we're aware.
So, yeah. So, and I remember when Ajax, is it Aspen Mountain? Is it, you know? So, yeah, Bumps in the hearts of those of us who remember Bumps before Bumps.
Right.
Will remember it as Bumps. But it looks like your construction project is going along well.
We are doing well. We've had some challenges along the way, but Buttermilk Mountain Lodge specifically will be open for our opening day on December 17th this year.
That's pretty
So
amazing.
The other building will be a little bit delayed, probably by X Games, but we'll have alternate services out there, and just appreciate all the help from Picken County Community Development and keeping us moving forward. We've had a lot of challenges, so.
Kelly.
Yeah, I would say, you don't hear people say the cantina that much anymore.
Just the other day, nobody knew what I was talking about. Like, where's she
I will still call it Bumps, but eventually you'll tell over time.
Yeah.
I am wondering, can you just explain the expansion areas? So
Sure.
the backyard, is that where like all the picnic tables kind of used to live?
Yep. Yeah. So it's basically just an expansion of the hardscape area out there. So the prior concrete patio was around 3,400 square feet. The new patio will be around an additional 2,200 square feet, so around 5,600 square feet total. And then we're also providing a more permanent outdoor bar. Henrietta and her team would do sometimes a pop-up type outdoor bar, but this one will be permanent and available during kind of those extra busy times. So the expansion is really just the hardscape
on the
area.
backyard.
Yep, on the outdoor patio, south side.
And what about in the front areas? Because it looks like there's some expanded.
There
along
is,
the
that's not,
side.
yeah, that's, there's some interior space that we added. So the stair used to be in the center of the floor plan there, and we've pulled that kind of outboard so that the dining room flows a little bit better. So the stair is still interior, but it bumps out a couple hundred square feet.
Okay, got it.
I know, I was just afraid I was gonna walk around that corner and fall down those stairs. The tray in my hand. And
It will not be in
grandkids
the way
following me
anymore,
everywhere.
right?
Yeah, Steve.
I just had a crazy thought while we were discussing this. the Aspen Ski Company should consider having a bartender contest for a mixed drink that has to have as one of its ingredients buttermilk. And this could be part of the grand opening
that
of the
sounds
newly
gross.
expanded
Buttermilk crud.
We
Buttermilk
might get
and
some
gin?
really
Oh,
interesting.
I'm up to the challenge. I make a pretty good
exotic drinks.
eggnog, you know.
Now that comes from someone who has drunk a lot of buttermilk, both the real buttermilk from our milk cow and for the cultured.
So what
stuff.
would you add to your buttermilk?
Well,
Stranahan's.
I would not add anything alcoholic to my own personal one, but I can imagine there'd be some different things with
Creative.
whiskey or gin or vodka or
I can't think of
or
gin
something.
and buttermilk. Kind of makes me
I just can't drink
curdle.
of drinking.
The bartenders
buttermilk.
would know how to doctor it up.
I think we make it part of Bacon Days.
Yeah, part of Bacon Days,
you go.
perfect. Oh, God, I know.
I just want to say I predate Bumps, so I'm not married to the Bumps name, never was. So I remember the original, Herbert Bayer, I think, did the original building out there, which I still miss.
Super cool, yeah.
But anyway, good luck with it, looking forward to it. What's hard is you can't just name something like that the Sun Deck because we already have a Sun Deck, but it really is it's a après ski deck out there. It's such a nice place, so.
Yeah, we
good
wanted
luck
to
with
make it more inviting and,
Yeah.
it's come out to the backyard and
I
That would be
love the
great.
backyard.
so.
Cool,
Yeah, that's great.
looking forward to it.
I've spent hours there, and I'm sure I will be spending more hours there.
I'm
So a
sure.
little more space would be greatly appreciated.
I look forward to seeing you there.
Yeah.
And if you did serve buttermilk, you'd have
And
big
I don't
strapping
really drink
guys like Steve
buttermilk,
coming
but I'll
in
drink
for
the
it.
gin.
Will you still allow people to bring outside food? Because I know we've had like school potlucks and things like that. classroom
Yes,
potlucks.
we will, on that basis, with the food, with the schools and things, of course, no outside alcohol.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
That's a good question. Thanks
Can
for
you
bringing
bring
it
your
up.
own buttermilk
What
is
about
the
what
question.
about brown bag lunch? Some skiers take their own lunch. Where do they get to go on buttermilk?
On buttermilk, they can go out on the deck typically with us, but because we are mostly on private land, we don't have to allow brown baggers inside the restaurant. That is on a case-by-case basis.
Got it.
For the outlets that are located on the Forest Service land, then we do have to give them some space.
Right. So they can use a picnic table anywhere on the mountain, probably.
Yeah.
okay.
Correct.
Just want to make sure that's still happening. Thanks.
Yes.
But you can bring your peanut butter jelly sandwich stuffed in your pocket, and I think you'll be okay. Okay, any other questions? Jeanette, you good? Any other comments?
Just don't forget there's snow stakes for all of our mountains, so you can check.
Yeah.
It's just about 12 inches up there.
Excellent.
My son-in-law said there wasn't much on the top of Aspen Mountain.
He must be on the leeward side, no wind.
He's the head snowmaker up there, so maybe
I know
he's just
Gordon,
wishful
yeah.
thinking. You know
Yeah.
Gordon?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to bring it back to the board for a motion, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the application for modification of premises submitted by the Aspen Ski Company for Bumps Restaurant.
I'll second.
I have a motion, I have a second. Any other comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, ladies.
Thanks
Nice
for
to
coming
see you.
in.
Look forward
Good
to
luck.
seeing it.
Thank you.
We can't wait. You
think
guys are
winter's
coming
here.
along. It's been fun watching it. All right, next item on our agenda is a resolution. This is a second reading public hearing, a resolution adopting the formula for the distribution of the municipal share of county sales tax revenue for the year 2023 as required by Resolution 78-121. Okay, Liz, any changes over the past 20 years to this?
We just recalculate it each year, and so it's based on a 2-year rolling amount, and that is what we've been doing, so yeah.
So, does the board have questions? Greg?
If you could just tell us what the percentages are.
Yeah.
And why do we have to give them any?
We have to give them some because that's what was originally passed on the ballot back in 78, I think it was. There was a portion that was, originally it was just to the city of Aspen that was passed through. It was later amended to have basically a portion to any incorporated municipalities within the Pickens County borders. So that expanded it to be town of Snowmass Village and the town of Basalt as well. Those percentages are set again from the ballot language based on the amount of sales tax, Picken County sales tax that is collected in each of those municipalities. So that split of the 43.57% that is established in the ballot.
And what a good deal for us, who has so little commercial, right?
But we still
Not
get to say you're
generating the
welcome.
sales tax.
Well, yeah, we would always generate the sales tax. It's, it's actually a good deal for the municipalities because we pass through a portion of ours to them. So it's, it's beneficial for them as well.
Oh, comes out in the wash.
Yeah.
Okay, and we want to thank you for your efforts, because I know sales tax has been all over the place this last couple of years. When we thought it was going to come down, it went up, and when we think it's going to go up, it comes down, and we just never know. So we have to literally go year by year and see what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
So I'll bring it back to the board. This is a public hearing, so let me bring it to the public first. Are there any members of the public wishing to comment on this item on our agenda? Do we have anybody online? If there's anybody online who would like to comment, oh, Doug, I see that you have a hand raised. You would like to comment on this item on our agenda?
Yes, Commissioner Clapper. Hey, you may remember me in my days of the interim CEO of MindSprings. Good to see you again.
Hi.
I just have a question. I'm the town director, finance director now of the town of Basalt. And I just wanted to clarify with Liz and the parties here that percentage is recalculated every year since it's a 2-year rolling average. Can you just confirm that for my benefit?
Yes, it does get recalculated each year, and we bring those calculations and those percentages back to the board each year. Per the ballot language, we have to do it before November 1st, so that is why we are doing this in October.
It's prospective too, this calculation, or is there retro? How should I be thinking about that?
Basically, 1 year is used twice in a calculation. So the rolling average, or the rolling percentages, are based on a September to August time frame. So in this case, the calculation is from September of 2020 through August of 2022. Next year, when we come back to the board, it will be from September of 21 through August of 23. So basically, 1 year's worth of sales tax is kind of used twice. So it's used to calculate the first year that it happens and then the next year as well, if that makes sense.
Yes, yeah, it does. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Doug. Thanks for calling, and we appreciate it. Are there any other members of the public wishing to comment? Seeing none in the room, seeing you.
I have a comment.
I'm going to close public comment.
Okay.
I'm going to close the public comment on this item and bring it back to Kelly.
Okay.
Yeah, again, I would just note our sales tax receipts and the growth of them by activity that is mainly generated in our municipalities, is what we see. So we're really benefiting from that, and that is what's contributing to our healthy budget.
At this point in time, yes, that's for sure. Any other comments from members of the board? Okay, we've got our public hearing is open and closed. I'll bring it back to the board for a motion.
So I'll make a motion to approve the resolution adopting the formula for distribution of the municipal share of county sales tax revenue for the year 2023.
Second.
I have a motion. I have a second. Any other comments? Liz, you're good? I'll call it. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes.
Thanks,
Thank
Liz.
you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Liz. All right, we are like moving along here. We're gonna take a 4-hour break just to keep us on track, on time. Thank you, board. I really appreciate this. I know everybody does. So we are now at a very important item on our agenda. It is an ordinance approving the Moore Family Ranch Open Space Preservation Master Plan. This is a second reading, a continued public hearing, and I believe we have some clarification of language Everybody who needs to, please come on up. You can join us. Get up here. It's like musical chairs there. Okay, who's going to take the lead? Suzanne, hi. Because I believe there might be some language corrections or additions in the master plan.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Happy to run that through for you. Suzanne Wolf with Community Development. I'm here for the second reading for the Moore Family Ranch Open Space Preservation Master Plan. You had first reading 2 weeks ago, I guess that was. Excuse me, whatever date that was. October 12th, there it is. Since then, there were no changes from the board at that time after first reading. The Open Space and Trails Board did have their meeting last week where they formally considered and voted on, to recommend approval of the master plan and endorsed our conditions of approval. There is some cleanup language that kind of came out of some of that Open Space Board discussion, some of which was making sure we were consistent with the contract, and some of that discussion. So I'll just speak to those changes that we're looking at in the ordinance, and then everybody else can jump in if they want.
And they were minor enough that we don't have to worry about a continued reading or anything, right?
Yes, the changes are relatively minor, and they are intended to conform with the contract that we entered into with the Moore family back in May. Well, I guess it was April at this point, but that you all approved in May of this year. Those contracts include certain provisions that are negotiated in advance of entering into the deal, and these proposed amendments are intended to conform with those prior agreements.
So it's kind of just a cleanup. Okay, perfect. Okay, Suzanne.
So the first change, or cleanup correction, is that for Lot 2, which is the homestead parcel where the existing Moore historic residence is, the 8250 that will be allowed is for new development and would not include the historic residence. So at the last meeting, I'd said everything was all in, the historic residence, a potential new residence, and the caretaker unit. And that was not consistent with the contract. And also, that is consistent by having the historic not count, is consistent with what we've done in other historic applications, often where they get the right to build a new residence and, with the 5750 or whatever square footage associated with that. So again, the clarification is that an 8250 would be a new residence, a CDU. If they decide to build one, that would count towards that, but the historic residence itself would not count out of that 8250. So that changes a couple of the recitals in the ordinance, 9G and 12A. I don't think it hit any of the conditions. So it's just in those two findings to clarify the square footage. The next correction would be condition 11F with regard to dogs on the properties. And the clarification there is that dogs would be prohibited on Lot 1. So that's the new 5-acre lot where there'll be a single-family residence up to 8250. It's, tucked on that end closer to the other development, sort of on McLean Flats Road. But that came out of, the reports done by the wildlife consultants originally, that they recommended that dogs be prohibited on that lot. So that will be the case. And then dogs would be permitted on Lot 2, so again, the Moore's family homestead parcel, as long as it continues to be owned by the Moore family. So Rye's got language to make that, proper in a condition, but again, so it runs with their ownership of that parcel.
With the Moore family and generation.
The Moore exactly, not just
Tommy and Carol.
not just Tommy and Carolyn, exactly. And then I think the only other clarification was condition 3A, which references, sorry, let me get there. The documents that will be recorded through as a result of this process. A would read conservation easement and or covenant agreements, and that's kind of part of the contract of the conservation easement encumbering portions of the property, a covenant agreement encumbering, I think, the homestead parcel essentially. So
yeah, the way the contract's set up is we left it open that the newly created lots, so Lot 1 and or Lot 2, and we've decided Lot 2, Tommy and Carolyn's lot, will be burdened by a restrictive covenant other than as opposed to a conservation easement. The restrictive covenant references the conservation values in the conservation easement, and by reference intends to create a circumstance where uses on the Lot 2 homestead parcel cannot be in conflict with the conservation easement values. And the same principle can apply to Lot 1. I don't think we've made a final decision whether the conservation easement or a restrictive covenant will burden Lot 1, but we'll work with Tommy's team to get that all figured out before closing.
But they both run with the property in perpetuity.
Correct.
Whether it be a covenant or an easement.
Correct.
Okay. So there'll be more documents coming my way for signature. Can't wait. Okay. So any other changes? Okay. All right, who we turning it over to?
I'll say a couple of
Please,
words.
would you
if
please
that's
introduce
okay.
yourself, sir?
My name
Nice
is
to
Doug
see
Pratt.
you.
I'm with Land Studio, and I've been working with Tom, Carolyn Moore, and family on the Open Space Preservation Master Plan. So thanks all for participating in this. Just wanted to give some recognition. This has been a mutual effort with Pickens County Open Space and Trails staff, Pickens County Open Space and Trails Board, community development staff, county attorney, Tom and Carolyn Moore's attorney, myself, and you as the Board of County Commissioners. So it has definitely been a team effort. I'm just a really tertiary player in all of this, but it's been great to work with this team. It's an incredible project. I hope for Pickens County and also for the Moore family. I think it is. Just wanted to personally extend my appreciation for being able to be involved with all of that. More specifically about the refinements that are being made. Tom and Carolyn Moore are aware of those. They support those. We've discussed that with them. I know that Ryan and Anne-Marie McPhee, the Moore's attorney, have gone through all of them. So just want to let you know that they are supporting these refinements that are proposed today. So.
Okay.
Didn't give you a big overview of the project. We kind of went through that the last time, so I know some of you weren't here, but I hope you have all the information you need. If you have any questions that I can help answer, I'm here.
Does the board have any questions at this point?
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
Just looking at the restrictions and conditions regarding wildlife, and I thought it'd be interesting to highlight some of them, because I'm going to call this state of the art right now, and in conservation in the valley, and we have the dog conditions with the dogs. We have the removal of the wire fences and the woven fences. We have bird feeders shall be avoided between April 1st and November 1st. I'm assuming that's regular seed bird feeders, but does that include hummingbird feeders? Like where did that come from and why? Is there someone who can explain that?
Bear
Bears.
attractants?
Bear attractants.
It's all about
exactly.
bears. Yeah, well, that could be anywhere in the valley. So would a hummingbird feeder be to be avoided? Really
Yeah,
interesting.
bears
Yes.
love hummingbird feeders.
If they can reach them, yeah. Okay, just an interesting thing to see in there. I hadn't seen that before.
You can put a hummingbird feeder up if it's high enough and unreachable, like you could hang it from the eave of your house.
Or like, I've seen people string
Yeah.
them through
Mhm,
trees.
Where
and
you can
all.
lower it down to fill it and raise it back up again. But I think the bears are figuring that one out too. Yeah. Okay, Greg,
Right.
anything else?
That's it. Just
Yeah,
wondering
so
if
this
if
was
there are any
the-
comments on that, other than bears.
Well, I can comment a little bit. One of the reasons this project is so compelling, not the only reason, but probably in the top 2 or 3 reasons, is because the elk have adopted this as really their last link between the highlands up to the east of the Roaring Fork Gorge and the river itself. As the development has pinched it on both sides, it's become their refuge and the last of their winter range, in a sense, that connects them down to the river. And as a consequence of that, we've been very careful in the way this has been put together to try to protect that corridor. And I'm pretty excited that we are where we are with all of it. Of course, nothing is ever perfect, and having spent some time out there, I can also say that some of those elk have got to be pretty friendly with Tommy and Carolyn, and I wouldn't be surprised if they haven't named a few of them, but we're going to try to protect that whole corridor and keep that intact going forward.
Great.
So it's mine.
Here they come.
Here they come. We're just speaking of the devil.
Have a seat. Or have a seat up front.
Hi. We
Hey,
moved a little
welcome.
faster than we thought today.
I know. And Travis is coming. He's on his way, but I don't know.
How are you?
By the time he finds a place to park.
I'm good.
Yeah, well, I just, we're talking about the conservation easement and the inclusion of the wildlife provision, and this is kind of the first time we've actually written it in clarity into the conservation easement, isn't it? We've talked about it, but I think we added it specific.
Well, some of these things will be in the land use approval, some in the conservation easement, but we try to make sure those two things are dovetailed very well in the future so that whether it's the open space staff that's out there in their annual monitoring visit or the ComDev staff that's responsible for ensuring the land use elements are observed over time, the whole thing has to fit together. And we're pretty happy with the way this has all come about.
So any other questions or to staff or to the applicant's representative? So I'm going to ask Tom and Carolyn, we do have a public hearing. Would you like me to open the public hearing, hear the public comments, and then give the floor to the two of you?
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to open this is a continued public hearing. I know we did have people online, but I know we have two familiar faces in the room. So would anyone like to present public comment on this item? If so, please come to the table and introduce yourself.
You're first.
I'll
be brief. I'll clean up the mess.
And I want to welcome Tom and Carolyn Moore to our meeting today.
Hi.
They are the applicants representing the applicants.
Yeah.
Okay, it's all yours.
Great, thank you. My name is Matt Kuhn. I'm the City of Aspen Parks and Open Space Director. I just wanted to come and offer our support and gratitude to be able to continue this partnership with Pickens County Open Space and Trails. From Sky Mountain Park to the James H. Smith parcel, Smuggler Mountain Open Space, we have a long history of, I think, successful partnerships with the county open space and the county entirely, and we're really happy to be part of this one. So really, I also wanted to extend to Tom and Carolyn our gratitude for your offer and commitment to conservation in the valley, and we feel very fortunate that at the City of Aspen, we're able to help and contribute on these important open space acquisitions. I did want to mention, I think you guys have approved the IGA, but this has gone in front of City Council on several occasions. It's also gone in front of our Open Space and Trails Board, and in every instance, it's been supported unanimously. And so with that, just wanted to thank you and appreciate
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
your
Thanks for
partnership.
coming.
Yeah, well, before you leave, I want to add on, I believe there's a ballot question on, and I don't know the number.
Ballot question 2B is seeking the permanent renewal of one of our funding sources for the Open Space and Trails program. It's the half cent, which is a 0.5% sales tax for the City of Aspen, and it's contributes roughly about a third of our income or our revenue for our open space program.
Well, I think that we have been good partners with the city. This was a perfect example of that with the Moore's property. I think the voters should look favorably on a continuation. I'm speaking for myself, and I don't know how the rest of the board, but yeah, but I think it's, we do have a great partnership going with the city. And again, the Moore's property, for many reasons, is a perfect example of how we can all work together. Yes, Mr. Moore?
We're all over that ballot question, but we can't vote for it. We live in the Tules.
But he's telling all his friends. I've seen him at the Elks, even though you're not supposed to be doing politics at the Elks. Tommy gets away with a lot. Yes, Dale?
Well, I just want to jump in on thanking the City of Aspen, and people may not realize that when we're approaching one of these transactions and we're agonizing on whether we should allocate public funds to do this thing or that thing, when we get into it, the solidarity between the city open space program and the county open space program is always very helpful in creating a public consensus around Sky Mountain Park or Smuggler Mountain, or in this case, this Moore Ranch conservation project. So we really appreciate that rapport and our continuing partnership, and the staff all, we're thick as thieves, so.
Yeah, we like that. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I believe we have another esteemed member of the public. I'm not sure where he's speaking from today, since he wears so many hats.
I wear two hats with this. Howie Mallory, live at 211 East Hallam Street, and I'm on the city and county open space and trails boards. City and county don't always get along on various issues, even though it seems like they have a common interest. But the open space and trails programs, as Dale mentioned, have collaborated very effectively, and this is another great example. By way of history, city and county collaborated on the Hummingbird acquisition up Hunter Creek, and as well as obviously out at Sky Mountain. So there's an example of this happening, and the city's delighted to help. And as you brought up, a part of the funding for our being able to partner with the county is the half-cent open space and trails sales tax that we're seeking permanent renewal of going forward. So those here at the root table, let's see, no one at this table except Patty can vote, right?
Yeah, Kelly can.
Oh, and Kelly, that's right. So, all right, that's my political statement.
That's your Hallam Avenue hat.
But what I just want to say, out of gratitude to Tom and Carolyn, their role in this is not just this one transaction, which is very important for the wildlife habitat, elk migration corridor, and the viewplane. But the Moore families really had a landscape effect on this community for many years. And I think it's been done with sensitivity. It's been done with the community interest as part of the overall objective. Obviously, the more open space, the trails up at Five Trees. I think your dad did the swimming pool, didn't he?
Oh, many of my children.
Right, so.
Many of my two children swim.
Well, so I'll presumptively speak for both the city and the county open space and trails board. This has been a somewhat arduous process for Tom and Carolyn, but we really think it's a long-term benefit to them and to the community. So we're most grateful, and thank you for being patient with us.
Thank you.
Let's see, did I leave anything out? I don't think so.
Let's
get on to the business of the day.
That's my son Travis, he just came in.
Travis, of course.
Our son.
Say something.
Sorry, slapped my hand.
How was the skiing?
Not quite there, but almost. Hi, everybody.
Travis, would you like to say a few words? Or do you want to?
I'm probably okay, thank you.
Okay, you let me know.
I have a question for Travis. By the time your kids come up, will there be any other land donations to make?
Pretty much out at this point, yeah.
You never know. You never know. My white turn up that Tommy hasn't told anybody about.
I think so.
I do want to have one sort of future thing to look forward to, and Greg, you might want to be part of it. With respect to the migration of the elk, right now they're somewhat blocked by Highway 82, and they really want to go to Brush Creek Village because the Gamble oak is particularly delicious over there. So,
in my house.
At your house. So, I mean, this sets the stage, I think, for perhaps that discussion going forward. It's going to require a lot of time, patience, and obviously funding. But this is part of reconfirming that corridor from the east side to the west side of the valley.
If I could respond, I see it every day. I've been watching the herd lately because they've been either on Cozy Point or in Brush Creek, or they haven't gone by the house yet, but I expect them any minute.
Mm-hmm.
I keep thinking they're going to try to make the move across the highway right around rush hour to get back down and over to your place, and I worry about it, and I'm trying to figure out, what could we possibly do with signage or people, manpower, just to make sure when the elk are making their moves, it'd be great to anticipate it and alert the traffic. But I did want to say that your family has not only partnered with the community, with the city and the county, and all these incredible land donations. You've changed and preserved the face of our valley in such a dramatic way. I'm
our
going to start
plan.
crying with Patty now. But thank you. This is such an incredible thing. Gratitude to your family. You've got a legacy left for your children and mine and everyone else's that is just so remarkable. It's the gold standard. You know, I can think of a few people, yourselves, maybe George Stranahan, and a few others who've done some phenomenal preservation of land in the valley, which has preserved this paradise for us, and you've got my deepest gratitude.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We think, Greg, that there's another herd, because I don't know that they cross over the highway.
No,
We've been
I've seen 'em.
debating that lately.
Your herd. You think
We
your
have our
herd isn't
herd.
going? So maybe they're split up. Maybe they.
I think
you know.
maybe because our herd doesn't have to cross over, even to get
Well,
water.
I
Maybe
watch
they
'em.
use the underpass.
Some of them do. I guess some of them do, but not enough of them do.
Greg's looking at an escalator that goes over the highway, so they don't have to
Yeah.
exert
We
too
need
much
to
energy.
figure out how to
You know,
get
in-
them from one side of the road to the other.
In Holland and Norway, they actually have sections of reservoirs and lakes that pass over the highways. So they have fish overpasses there. We can do elk overpasses here.
You have any elk on your porch yet?
Not this year, but often. Sleeping in
have.
the front yard, you know. They come and take pictures. They like doing selfies with my wildlife camera.
So I'm just gonna keep this. Are there any other members of the public? Do we have any members online? Is there
Someone,
anybody?
I don't know, they don't have a hand raised.
I have someone online. Tucker, did you want to provide public comment? If so, you need to raise your hand by *9. Okay, the floor is yours. We'll give you your public comment period. You are on mute, so you need to unmute, which is *6. Okay, there you go.
You are muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, well, anyway, I just wanted to let you know that I'm here with my mom, Jane Moore, who is actually also equally as responsible for the donations that were made to the city and the county over the years as you know, the daughter of James E. Moore. And I understand the value of everything that's been done with the Moore family for the community and for the environment in Aspen. And you know, I'm obviously speaking about the North Parcel, which was part of this whole agreement and has not been included in today's discussion. I hope that we can become part of this agreement here in the next couple years. I know part of the contract that's in place right now states that there's $1 million being allocated that's going to be held in escrow for a couple years in the hopes of bringing on the North Parcel, which is part of this corridor. And from what I'm being told from everyone, that is a very important part of this corridor. And we hope to take part of that. But the thing that I brought up to Richard Neely and Suzanne Wolf over the last week to propose that, you know, when we're talking about funding with the city as well as the county, there's $1 million. I mean, there's been $10 million, I guess, for this whole project being allocated, and all $10 million is directed towards the Moore family. And, you know, my mom, Jane Moore Gear, the $1 million being directed for the addition of the North Parcel is being 100% allocated towards Tom Moore. And I had requested that that $1 million be broken down to according to the percentage of ownership of that parcel. And I was told that that would not be presented to today's group, which is why I wasn't really going to speak today, because I don't think that's it's part of this conversation with this parcel that's being discussed today. But I wanted to let it be known that unless that there's some level of modification or some type of motivation, which was stated in one of the earlier meetings, for the tenants and common owners to bring on us, and I'm the representative of the Marshall Gear Estate as part of this, then that's going to be a big hurdle, or probably a barrier that's going to prevent that from occurring. So I think that that's something that should be addressed if you're planning on moving forward with that. And that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you, Tucker. Jane, did you have a few words you'd like to say?
Old soldiers never die. They just fade away.
Okay, thank you both. Yeah, and your comments will be put into the public record, just so you're aware of that. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks. Are there any other members of the public who would like to speak on this item before us? I don't think we have anybody else online. Okay, so I'm going to bring it back to Tom and Carolyn. Please, the floor is yours. Just make sure when you
Tell 'em
speak,
the whole damn story.
Suzanne, could you make sure the mic's going in the right? Tommy?
I think you know what's going on here, so I don't have to embellish that too much, but I know from the last meeting that we had 2 weeks ago, or you folks had, and I know that we had some mistakes in the historical background of this piece of property, and I actually have the abstract, which I was going to bring, but we got in a hurry running this direction. But so we can, if we're going to do the historical thing on my house and the barn and all that stuff, and on the original patents and all the other different entities that came down to us, we have that information and we can correct it.
Great.
Yeah, so that's about all we're doing.
What about the story about the guy that never got to live in his house because he got
The
hit
lightning.
by lightning?
That was Chris Cardy. Yeah, he's the one that built the house. And my understanding, it came from Chicago and on a train, and it went to Glenwood, and then it came to Woody Creek, and then it was hauled up on hay wagons up to where it is right now.
In 1928, right?
Yeah, and it was about 1927, I think, when they hauled it up there and they started working on it and building it. I think, well, it wasn't finished when we got there.
But it was
We
shortly.
had people living in there, but
Yeah, but it was shortly after he got there that he was out in the field one day?
yeah, he didn't live there more than 6 months.
He was across the road, apparently under
He was
the
over
tree.
by Boogie's.
Wow,
And the-
right on that
And those
edge.
cottonwood trees over there, and he got hit.
He got hit.
Wow.
But it was not the
You
worst
stay
place in the
safe
world
up
to
there,
die.
sir.
Pardon me?
And you too. You stay safe up there.
Any question?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna assume that I can't land a helicopter out there anymore. So I remember, about 25 years ago, I was flying aerials around the Elk Range, and we used your field with your permission. You probably don't remember.
I do.
But you remember, good, thank God
Oh,
you
yeah.
do.
Oh, yeah.
But we landed a helicopter, and I flew out of there
Yeah,
to
that's
shoot.
why I always say, I came to town in my helicopter.
That's right, right. But I wanted to ask, the airstrip's gone, isn't it?
No.
It's not? Is it still there?
Pardon me?
The airstrip.
The airstrip.
It's there.
Oh, okay, I just didn't
Just
see
for
it last
model
time I went by.
airplanes.
Okay.
For model airplanes.
Well, over the years, I've had, we had one guy from Rifle who used to pull banners behind their, and come over asking for whatever he was getting paid for, and they wouldn't let him do it at the airport, so I said, come on out there. And he would land there and put his banners out, and then he would take off, come around, and catch them on a hook, and then he would come around, and then he would drop them back in the field. And then
They
he
were
would
coming
land.
from your house?
Yeah,
I never knew that.
yeah, that's where they came from.
Tommy's always out
Anyway,
there
we also
stirring up
had-
trouble.
Over the years, we've had paragliders, and
Oh, the
Lou
fat-
DeCane
Lou
came
DeCane.
by and flew his homemade helicopter in there one day, and that was his first jump from from Jerbozdale up to my flying field, and then he had to get his guts up to see if he'd make it across the canyon over to the airport for a check ride. And those are some of the fun things that happen on it.
Such a great
Great
location.
moments in aviation at the Moore property.
The land of multiple use.
Well, thanks.
They don't like us to fly model airplanes out there too much now, because even though I'm supposedly grandfathered in, they're flying right over my barn now, these big jets, you know. And I don't
Wow.
think that I call over there and they don't respond to me, you know.
Let them know when you see that little plane, it's actually a model plane.
Right.
Yeah.
So when we do fly, we have to fly under the 400-foot rule and hope when a big jet doesn't come by.
So I have a question for the two of you. What are you going to do if the board approves this and moves it forward today?
We'll go out to dinner.
Okay.
We're going to go back home and go back into the files.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we're just hoping that you can move on in life.
Thank you.
And not have to worry and fret. And we'll see more of you out and about, which is always so nice to run into you guys, even though you make me cry every time I see you.
We did.
She does it every time. Yeah, you two are amazing.
And we are allowed our 2 dogs, aren't we?
Yes, ma'am. The family is allowed as long as the family owns the property on lot 1. No, not lot 2.
Homestead parcel.
We own about 3 coyotes right now too.
And we've heard you
Their
might have named some of the elk.
You
Is
might own
that
some
true?
wolves here in the future too.
We had George. He was a big
Bull.
big bull. We had him like 7 years, and one day he didn't come back.
Oh.
And then last year, 2 years ago, we named another one George too, and he came back 2 years, but he's not this year.
So no George 3?
No, George 3.
I don't have a George 3 yet, because he.
Well, if we can round you up one, we'll bring him
None
up.
of them are big enough to be called George.
Got to give him a few more years. Okay, so anything else, Tom and Carolyn, you would like to say? I'm going to bring it back to the board and let the board really make you cry, Carolyn.
Okay, can I make the motion, or are we going to have to
No,
flip
I'm just
over
going to
this?
see if there, anything else you want to share with us?
Travis, do you want to say anything about growing up
Travis?
there?
No, I'm just so happy that this is all coming to this place where my kids and hopefully grandkids and stuff will be able to see this as we grew up on it. You know, as you were saying, Greg, there's been a lot of change in the valley, and a lot of places that you're like, wow, do you remember what that used to look like? And so we're really excited to be able to say, this is what it looked like. This is what we grew up doing, and be able to show that and share that with our kids and any other folks in the future too.
Right.
Last vestige of kind of old Aspen.
Mm-hmm.
So does your dad give you paid time off at all?
Always.
Yeah, okay.
He's taken.
No, he loves having you up there. My daughter misses
He's
having
taken
you
a few
up
days
there as a
off
teacher.
since he quit teaching.
Yep.
Yeah,
Retired.
my daughter's favorite, so.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring it back, I'm going to close the public hearing, bring it back to the board. Who would like to jump in for some comments and closing remarks?
I was just looking around the crowd here and thinking back 20 years to my family's conservation easement. Doug Pratt was there, Suzanne Wolf was there, Dale Will was there. This team has done 2 amazing conservation easements that I think are maybe the top 2 in the whole county at this point for having an impact on the whole conservation movement in the Roaring Fork Valley. So that's just we have a great team going here, and we need to look for the next project now, maybe.
I'm going to add Sunfire Ranch in there.
Where's
That
that?
one took us a long time. Sunfire Ranch, the Sewell's Ranch up 133.
Yeah.
We're trying to cover the
We're
whole.
always out there chatting, and we've got a few things in the queue, so.
And look at the grin on his face, there's something cooking there. It's
Well,
making
you were
me
talking
nervous
about
sitting
that
here.
last week.
I know, I'm looking at going, oh
The
God,
old
what's he
Stra-
bringing
2
there?
weeks ago. The
So
Stranahan
thanks
place.
to the Moore family
Yeah.
from my family
family.
for, conserving land. If it's in your blood, it's in your blood to really preserve the land to the best of your ability, and I think you've done a good job on this one, and as well as the other parcels that you've been involved in.
Yep.
Thank you.
Pretty amazing.
When we think of the thousands of people who drive by there every day and fly over it, too close for your comfort probably, but it is just such a remarkable, iconic thing here, and it's just such a perfect place, and it's one of those places where it wouldn't occur to you that it hadn't been conserved. You know, I'm always surprised, or maybe before this job, I was always surprised when something would be developed because I just assumed it was open space, and it wasn't. So it's just nice to see this, and thanks for all the hard work from Open Space and Dale and staff and everyone who's worked on this, Rye, you know, for making this happen. For the thousands of people who see it every day, and I'm reminded every time I go by there. So I look out the window and there it is. So it's great.
Well, I know Rye pretty much wore his pencil out on this one.
And his eraser.
The pencil too.
Well, and I think the view from your property is probably the second most photographed place in all of Pickens County after the Bells.
It's right there behind me.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just want to thank you very much, and I want to acknowledge someone who's not been called out, but Patty, who is ever protective of all of the county budgets. I believe it was her suggestion that we partner with the city and strong arm them for some contribution and partnership here. So thank you.
Good
for
job.
that.
Yeah, no, we do good partnerships with the city, and this is a good place to do one. Thanks, Kelly. And it's been a long time in the working. And the only thing I can say about when you drive by there, it's breathtaking. Whether the elk are out there or not, or whichever direction the sun's coming or going, or the moon's coming or going.
Or the hawks on the fence.
Yeah, it's just breathtaking. And every time I drive by, I threaten, so you guys know, and I'm going to be doing it now, to just drive up and say hello.
We told you could do that.
I know. I want to bring the grandbabies up, so
Of course.
we might have to plan something. Tracy will have to come too to chaperone her mother. Yeah, it is. I mean, just it's the Moors, and it's beautiful. And thank you so much from I think the bottom of our hearts and the bottom of the community's heart. So, but now we need to hopefully have a motion.
I'm going to jump in and make the motion before somebody else does. I want to make a motion approving the Moore Family Ranch Open Space Preservation Master Plan. Woohoo!
Do you want a second?
I'm going to second that motion. I'm going to second, and you know what else I'm going to do? I'm going to call the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes.
you.
And again, we want to thank you.
Yeah, thank
We
you.
really want to thank you. And see you maybe at Taco Tuesday next week.
Thank you.
Thank
The
you
hard
all.
work
Thank
begins.
you. Doug, thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Come up and see us.
Susan didn't even talk.
I got my part done early.
Thank you all. Thanks, Tommy.
Okay, you bet.
Tommy, I told you I would get it done while you were still standing here in front of us.
Yep, well,
I told Travis that too.
I'm
I told you we
still
would get it
standing.
done.
Yeah, thank
But
you.
it took the members of the board to approve this, so thank you guys. Thank
Well
you.
done. Thanks a lot. Great to see you.
Okay, to the board now.
Thanks, Travis.
We have an open discussion, I believe, that's coming forward to us from,
Comment letters.
who's bringing it forward?
Ashley?
Ashley, are you bringing this forward on the Forest
Yeah, she
Service
is.
comment
She's here.
letters? Hi.
I would like to bring this forward. Should I start?
Yes,
Well,
please.
set with a tough act to follow on that one, but I'll try. Ashley Pearl, Community Resilience Manager. I'm here with 2 comment letters. I'm going to go through one by one because I don't want to get them confused, but hopefully this can just be short. So there's one comment letter in your packet that is addressed to Senator Bennett. This is in relation to the partnership that we've been working on with the City of Aspen, RAFTA, the school district, and a number of others to potentially lease the S-Curves property from the Forest Service and develop future housing opportunities on that site. The you don't need to go into all the details. You can see them in the letter, but basically, the farm bill that was passed in 2018 allowed the Forest Service to not just sell land that they are ready to dispose of, but to actually lease that land. It's called enhanced use leasing. There have not been any actual finalized leases from that farm bill, but there are a number across the country that are underway right now. But what we've uncovered through our conversations with the Forest Service about potentially leasing the S-curves land is that there are some challenges with the way the lease language is written. That farm bill is coming up for reapproval, if you will, in 2023. And so the letter that we would like the board to sign is a letter to Senator Bennett encouraging him through when that farm bill does come back up to consider some of our concerns and suggestions for improving that farm bill so it could better serve our community in working towards housing and partnerships with the Forest Service. So pretty basic. All of the other partners on that piece of property at S-curves are also sending a similar letter in a similar time frame to Senator Bennett. So hopefully he will hear it multiple times from different folks. So the City of Aspen, RAFTA, School District, all those partners have been asked to send a letter as well. So I'm hoping that Pickens County can join in sharing a shared voice for wanting to partner with the Forest Service, but needing some tweaks to that lease language to really make it feasible. Happy to answer questions or get thoughts on that one.
Well, I just want to thank you for bringing it forward, and please, and I'm sure that you know that we do have an amazing working relationship with Senator Bennett, and we pretty much have an open door, so whatever we decide we need to have tweaked. There's another issue that came up earlier about the farm bill and looking at something else. So yeah, we'll just start making a list. So thank you for bringing this. Kelly?
Yeah, points 1 and 2 are very clear to me. I'm confused a little bit about point 3. I don't understand what credit, like how is credit being defined and measured and here, like who needs credit, who gives credit, how is that working?
Good question. So when we look at what the lease terms might be, so what all of the different leasees would need to pay, the Forest Service uses a pretty complex system for assessing what the value of that is and what each leasee would need to pay. And right now, as it's written, we could not, for example, meet the Forest Service visitor center needs in, let's say, at the Acker building in town, and then receive credit for that against the cost of the lease. We would have to meet, that need has to be met on site in order for that cost to go down. But basically it just really constrains our options on how we can meet the Forest Service's needs and try and get that lease appraisal, if you will, down to a reasonable amount of money. So we're just hoping that we could meet the Forest Service's needs off-site and essentially get credit so that the eventual lease number is a little bit less. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
So you're asking for some flexibility in that provision.
Otherwise, the cost of the total provision of services goes up.
Right. And difficult to weigh the values issues. Okay, so are we good with letter 1?
I am.
Okay, just get it to me for signature, yes? Is that Ashley?
And
Yes.
Go ahead, Kelly.
no, we did hear additional, this is a little outside of the thread of this, but we did just hear from Sam on advocacy related to the Farm Bill about the income provisions in SNAP. Not sure it makes sense to do this in this because this is a very specific thread as opposed to general criticism of the whole Farm Bill. But we may want to think about that too.
Yeah, we'll probably have another one coming forward with the income levels, with the SNAP program, et cetera, and inflationary raises in people's wages, et cetera. Okay, what is your second?
Okay, the second is a comment letter that would be submitted to the U.S. Forest Service through their online portal, and it is commenting on their environmental assessment, their NEPA, that they have recently put out, and we are currently in the 45-day comment period. I want to spend a little bit of time on this because it at first blush seems confusing. As a reminder, this is the parcel that is right next to Crown Mountain Park that's currently owned by the Forest Service. Picken County and Eagle County together have the first right of refusal to purchase or lease the land. We exercised that first right at the beginning of this year. So that actually kicked off the process the Forest Service has to go through to assess the land, which is the NEPA. So it seems a little counterintuitive because we are objecting to the NEPA on land that we may potentially want to one day either buy or lease. But the letter, as you can see, is very specific in our objections. And that is because the NEPA used a number from 2016 that was not a third-party verified number for how much density could go on the site. And Picken County, along with Eagle County and the town of Basalt, all feel that that number is extremely high and not really in alignment with current values, current vision, or in the current desire of what the partners would like to see on that space. And so as you can see, our comments are very specific to the numbers that are used in the NEPA. And frankly, we've talked with Forest Service staff outside of this meeting offline and let them know we would like to make sure that our concerns are noted, that there's a paper trail, and that we buy ourselves or get ourselves a seat at the table so that as the NEPA is discussed, we at least have a foot in the door and can be in those conversations. We didn't want to let this opportunity to go by and then not be able to be in whatever conversations follow the NEPA. So this is due Monday the 31st. That's when the objection period closes, and then the Forest Service will address all the concerns and the objections that came in. And then once they clarify all those, in theory, they will move forward with the rest of their process. So you will be hearing from staff a lot more about this parcel in the coming future. This is right now just very specifically to the NEPA so that we can be part of the conversation, and very specifically on the numbers that were used in the NEPA. We don't want those to be used for future, any future calculations.
Great. Okay. Thank you. Kelly.
So I feel like we're chasing our tail a little bit here because we have not had any conversations with Eagle County about this. We've not learned any presentation about what the listening sessions have presented. So I'm struggling a little bit with how we take a position on this that gives us flexibility to have those conversations. It makes sense to me that, you know, on the full acreage to object to any holdback and on the water rights, because that's sort of standard, I think, for us. But I'm like, what is the harm that the NEPA says about the density? Like, what harm does that do us in any future conversations?
Another good question. What the harm does is potentially if the Forest Service is indicating they're going to use this 2016 density number that's not verified or researched, that number could also show up in their appraisal, which would mean that any appraisal that comes back to Eagle County and Picken County to purchase the land would be based on a density number that's not feasible or attainable, which would put Eagle County and Picken County in a really tough position because we might not be able to then afford the land, or the appraisal might come back significantly higher than what the land is actually worth in our opinion. And I did want to I recognize, Kelly, we have not been in front of you to talk about this property. The timing was a little bit off with this one. We would have liked to talk to you before submitting this letter, but the NEPA objection period is closing. Staff from Picken County, Eagle County, and Town of Basalt have had a series of meetings where we have started to dig into the listening session feedback and re-envisioning what the three partners would be interested in doing on this site. So although the boards of Eagle County and Picken County have not connected on this, staff is very much aligned, and we have been in lockstep, and Eagle County is submitting almost the exact same comments as are in front of you right now to the objection period as well. And Town of Basalt is anticipating putting some objections in as well. So
well, I'm still a little uncomfortable with that, Ashley, because, you know, we get criticized a lot about being staff-led. And so, you know, I don't want us to get out ahead of our skis on this. And I just wonder what happens if we undershoot it, you know? So like, how do we deal with the appraisal in a if in a changing project environment? How does that get dealt with?
I am not entirely sure on your question.
So Forest Service comes out with, they were relying on way high density. They come out with a really high appraisal. We dispute that with some unyet decided overly low density in order to adjust that appraisal and then somewhere in the decision is in the middle. Like, how does that appraisal adjust over time in a, environment of changing decision making?
The appraisal does not adjust. The appraisal that comes in from the Forest Service appraisal is the price that we either take or leave. It does not, there is not a negotiation once the appraisal has been made public.
So, well, let me just, I'm seeing this as understanding both sides, what Kelly was saying too, but is that this letter just gives us the seat at the table. We may, at the end of the day, when we have a verified density number, if the 2016 was not a third party, I mean, it was not as clear a decision as we would like to have made. And I think in the Mid-Valley, we're seeing people concerned about high density and impacts, et cetera, et cetera. I think that's changed since 2016, should be taken into consideration. It doesn't mean at the end of the day we might not come back and agree on a high density, but it at least it allows us the opportunity to be at the table and to have this discussion moving forward. That's
well, and I'm not arguing that either. I'm just saying, we're not clear on what we're advocating for at this
yeah, and
time.
I don't think in the letter we're saying we want a density of X. We're saying we want to have a seat at the table, period. And this is our opportunity to keep that door open, is what I'm seeing this letter as.
Our objection to the density number is not based on what we want. It's based on the way that number was come up with, which was, for lack of a better term, back of a napkin in 2016, based on some other developments that were happening at the time. And that was where the number came from. It got no further research or look at. So to us, that feels like kind of a shot in the dark number that's not based in anything. And as the currently is zoned, and as the current water rights and all of the utilities and everything, they don't match up with actually being able to support that many units in that area. So it's not based on, I hear what you're saying now, Kelly, which is if we object to this, then we're saying that's not what we want. We don't want density in that area. What we're actually objecting to is that the number was not come about through a good process and is not actually feasible given current constraints and what we know about the area. That's not to say that as we go through this and engage with stakeholders and have a whole long process, that we may find that we're closer to that number. But as of right now, nothing points to that number is even feasible, nor that number really was come to in any sort of reliable process.
So I guess, yeah. I mean, I would feel comfortable saying, this is a rough estimate that we don't support, and the numbers should be based on zoning, water rights, things like that. I'm uncomfortable with language of this does not represent the intentions of Eagle and Pitkin County, because how do we say that? It's not reflective of the status of conversations among our boards.
Or, something to the fact that we are concerned about the process that was used in 2016, and we would like to be a seat at the table in thoroughly vetting the density numbers as we move forward with our partners. Something in that matter. To keep it a little, so to emphasize your point of it's the process that was used, not necessarily the number, but that doesn't mean at the end of the day that number might not be closer to where we all decide that is affordable, sustainable, doable, acceptable, whatever other words you want to use. But I think the key to this is just because we want to maintain that seat at the table. Mm-hmm. And we want that seat to be an open discussion with thorough vetting in a process that's more representative of the process that should have been used in 2016 that wasn't used. So is there some language tweaking we can do there?
Question.
Yeah, Greg has
Actually,
a-
while we're, I understand where the point Kelly's made and Patty, and I guess that the sentence in here that says the 2016 housing density number was an informal rough order of magnitude from Eagle County staff. So I kind of want to be sure that Eagle County and Pitkin are fairly aligned on this. Are we aligned on this, or are they still going on a density number that's different? Because it seems that their original estimation was the problem.
We're absolutely aligned.
We're absolutely aligned.
Their original, honestly, they had a development in Eagle County that was happening at the time, and it was the same acreage as this. And so the question came up, just in a casual conversation, well, could we put that same density on the same acreage, since that's what we're doing? And people said, well, in theory we could. It's the same acreage, that's what we're doing here, and that was the end of that conversation.
Right.
And so Eagle County is very much aligned with us that just is not a good process for figuring out what's actually feasible on a piece of land.
Just to say, because we did it next door, we can do it here, when the circumstances might not be identical.
How hard would it be to modify this to just to reflect that, that it does sound like we're in alignment with them. I read that in there. I'm just trying to figure out how to make Kelly and my fellow board members feel more comfortable.
I have some edits I can suggest.
And is it too late? Has Eagle County already submitted the same letter?
We can submit whatever letter we want.
Sure, I'm just wondering, where are we in the process?
Eagle County is meeting with their board today to review their letter, so I'm sure there will be edits that come out of that. I think the fact that we all are submitting a letter is really the value.
Right.
The content of it being different is not that big of a deal.
We have till Monday to submit, right, the 31st?
Correct.
So these are the 3 edits I would offer. I would delete the second and third sentences from the density paragraph. So it just reads, does
Leaves
not
it more
provide an
open.
accurate representation of future development. The estimate does not consider site planning constraints, community engagement, et cetera, et cetera. It removes intention. It removes a study that I don't think we should revisit. And then I would just take out of the NEPA scenario of a high density build out at the first sentence of the second paragraph. I just would remove is not reflective of zoning restrictions or action goals, and remove community value, stated community values. Because our boards haven't aligned on those. There's obviously been conflicts of values between Eagle County and Pitkin County and development in the Mid-Valley, and I think we should not assume that they're going to be the same without conversation. And then the rest of that is fine.
Okay, got that?
Is that okay?
Yeah, those seem like very easy changes to make.
We're just referencing stuff on the books. We're not referencing conversations that haven't happened. That's all I want to do. Yeah.
I would agree with making those changes.
Yeah. Greg?
I'm still reading what you were.
So Ashley, if you can run them by Eagle County staff too, I am here Thursday, Friday, and Monday if you need me. But let's see, Greg is still in ponder mode.
No, I'm supportive of this. I'm not going to wordsmith right now. I think it's fun. I just want to make sure it's enough. If we cut that much out, we're not losing too much of the message here is that we're objecting and that, this is open to, we want to be part of these conversations.
Right, we want that seat at the table
Right.
as our goal at this point.
And I think it comes across that way. I just want to make sure you're comfortable that we haven't cut something out that we should.
No, this is absolutely
Okay.
fine. Again,
Okay,
we're
thanks.
submitting comments to have a seat at the table.
Okay,
Excellent.
perfect.
Then I approve of the changes.
Thank you, Ashley. Ashley,
Thanks,
anything
Kelly.
else?
Thank you.
No, but I do know that John Ely turned on his video, so
Yeah,
I'm wondering if.
John Ely's here for the next item, I believe, right, Mr. Ely? Okay, yeah.
Oh, I
Right.
don't like it when John turns on his video from my side.
She's like, oh God, John's here.
Well,
Thanks,
I will
Ashley.
get the
Sorry if I came off a
survey.
little strong on this. I'm looking forward to getting with Eagle County and
Yeah.
and chatting with them.
We need to get a
This is
joint
absolutely
meeting.
right, and we have not had a chance to update the board on this project because we've been kind of waiting for this NEPA to fall through, or to go through.
Fall through.
And we honestly, yeah, hopefully it goes through. And we honestly didn't think we were gonna be engaging in the NEPA until really very recently, so I do apologize on the timing there. And I'm looking forward to having a longer conversation, updating you, really talking about those values and all the stuff you mentioned today. I will take the letter to Senator Bennett and get Patty's signature. I will make these edits to the NEPA comments and get Patty's signature. on
Yeah,
the
and you might wanna wait, and if you talk with your counterparts in Eagle tomorrow, see if they had anything strong that, is of concern, before we actually sign this and send it off. And if we need to, we'll figure something out, 'cause we'll have yeah. Okay, great, thank you. So, Mr. Ely, we've seen that you've joined us, and I believe you want to talk to us about being railroaded.
That's about right, Patty. Hello, everyone. I know that some of the commission members have seen some email traffic regarding a request from Eagle County for us to join in as an amicus in a fight that they have with the National Transportation Safety Board. And the particular issue involves the transportation of crude oil that is being pumped out of the ground, extracted in Utah, and then is planned to be transported by rail tanker car, across the eastern parts of Utah, and across western Colorado to Denver for refinement, and then shipping on from that point, or the introduction to various pipelines stemming out of the Denver area. The concerns that Eagle has, I think, are fairly straightforward and obvious. They feel that transportation of this much crude oil on the surface on a rail corridor is not particularly safe, that the rail corridor is prone to problems, particularly this stretch of rail that is maintained through Colorado that is subject to all sorts of geologic problems and a potential for slides and closures that would affect the transportation of crude oil should that particular cargo be in a location where a geologic event take place, as well as simply the volume of train traffic that would be produced by the transportation of this crude oil. What's been represented to me through Eagle County and their attorney's office is that they're anticipating about 1,000 additional tanker cars every day to be hauled down the corridor, which basically tracks along the Colorado River until you're into Eagle County, and then it goes up and over into Grand County and through the Moffett Tunnel, and then down on the other side of the mountain into Denver. So the legal representatives for Eagle County have reached out to several other counties in the area. They didn't converse with Mesa or Garfield, I guess, assuming that the political and policy alignment did not exist there. But they have reached out to us, Route County, Grand County, Summit County, Clear Creek County, and Boulder County. And with the exception of Route and Pitkin, all of the other counties are a direct host to portions of this rail line from the western border of the state over to Denver. The primary concern that Eagle is asserting in their argument and appeal to the 10th Circuit is that the Surface Transportation Board did not exercise its authority within the bounds of the law, in that they failed to consider their own transportation policies involving crude oil, and they allowed an exemption prior to a full environmental review so that this particular project in transportation of oil can occur prior to a final NEPA document being produced, a final EA in this case. I don't see any problem with it. I like the idea of joining in with our friends whenever we can and assisting them. This particular issue does not directly touch and concern Pickens County, but it definitely affects our region. And so I would recommend to the board that we join in as an amicus in the appeal that is being prosecuted by Eagle County in the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals relating to the decision of the National Transportation Safety Board.
Great. Does the board have comments?
Sure.
Greg, please.
I certainly support sending this letter supporting Eagle County. You could only imagine the catastrophe if we had an incident in Glenwood Canyon, for instance, or anywhere along the river corridor on the upper Colorado. The catastrophe you could expect from that much potential crude oil going into the Colorado River. It would affect 40 million people downstream. So I think it's pretty it's a risky thing to do, and I think they can find another way to transport their oil. So I'd
build a
support it.
refinery in Utah. Yeah, that's what makes more sense. Steve, please.
I am wondering, at present day, is any crude oil transported along the Denver and Rio Grande tracks through western Colorado? There probably is some. I'd be curious just to have more information about how many tanker cars of hazardous materials are already transported on the tracks. That could be, kind of affect our decision on whether 1,000 more cars is a huge amount more, or maybe there's already a bunch going through and 1,000 isn't that much more. I'd be curious about that.
Yeah, I know.
Also,
let me just respond to that real quick. I know yesterday or the day before, when I was in Glenwood, there was a line of maybe 50 tankers. I know they've been shipping oil. I don't know if it's crude oil, which to me contains more contaminants. And it's my understanding that it's a substantial increase in the number of cars. Can you imagine if one of those, they're connected, so one's going off into the river, it's probably not gonna be the only one that's in the river. So, and there is an issue with all the transport of hazardous waste, but that doesn't mean that it's okay to double that impact, if that's what you're
also
saying.
in Fruta, there used to be the oil refinery there for re-refining used oil, I believe, is what that was used for. I'm wondering if that refinery could be brought up to speed to handle oil from eastern Utah and not have to transport it clear across the mountains in Colorado.
Yeah, you would think that they would have reviewed all of those issues, and the fact though that they haven't even finished an EIS and they're gonna start running cars, and the biggest impact is environmental. One of those babies goes in the Colorado. It's not just, like Greg, like you said, the 40 million people, it kills the river. It will kill that river. If you can just close your eyes and look at, Glen Canyon Dam with a lining, with a rim, instead of where the water used to be, you just see a ring around the tub of crude oil. That is a toxic, look at what it does in an ocean, and we're not prepared here with Dawn
We don't have
liquid
enough flush.
soap. Yeah.
I think we should make, fossil fuel extraction as difficult as possible.
Yeah, and if you're gonna where you mine it, you need to refine it. Oh, that's a good quote. Where you mine
I
it,
don't
you
want any
need to
mining. Let's
refine
just
it.
be over it.
All right. So I believe unless the board has more, Kelly, I think you.
So we're gonna sign the letter.
I do have an open discussion item.
No, but on this.
Yeah, that's good.
We're good. John, we're good.
Is this
All
a
right,
lot of
just to
work
be clear
for
that-
you guys?
Yeah.
This is not a letter, will be joining in.
Yeah, right.
Meeting amicus, signing on to a joint paper that is being prepared for all of the amicus parties as well as the principal parties of Eagle and a separate environmental group that has participated in this particular cause, and I can't remember who who that is.
Well,
but-
John, you just,
but For a quick filing.
yeah, I think we're good to go, and just bring it back to us whenever you have more information or need us to weigh in more. I've been meaning to bring this up for a while, you know, enjoying the stretches of the Colorado River as I do with my kids in the raft. I just cannot imagine. I just cannot imagine. So anyway, okay, we're moving on. Thanks. Do you want to stay for the rest of open discussion? Just in case, Kelly? You have an open discussion?
I do.
Go.
Okay. So I was chatting with Bill Fales, and he was raising a concern with me about trail access up along by Spring Gulch that we have, and that there's been conflicts between the dogs and the cattle that are using that, and it's disturbing the peace of the cattle, which are causing cattle and person inner conflicts. And I feel like we should, I don't know
who manages.
Resolve.
Because it's up to Rome
Try and help
Park.
resolve. Yeah.
So who manages that
Yeah, I
section
know
of
that
trail?
Paul's aware of what's been going on up there, and he could respond more accurately, but my understanding is that there's not currently a dog or dog leash restriction for that property, but that since the conflict has come up, Open Space and Trails has signed the property to warn visitors of cattle. I guess there's one or two cows in particular that are particularly aggressive. And
I mean, they broke someone's arm.
yeah,
Oh, the
broke-
cows did?
Yeah, they broke a gal's arm, and
Oh my God.
they've warned the public about that and advised people to keep their dogs on a leash as they proceed through the property. But I don't know what the rest of Kelly's
Yeah,
comment
I don't know,
is.
how do we,
Thank you.
how do we mandate?
Yeah.
I
How
think
do we
Paul's, I
mandate
know that
that?
Paul's been working with Bill, Mr.
Okay.
Fales, about the circumstance. And my understanding was that at least Mr. Fales' initial contact with Paul was to make sure that Paul understood that it wasn't one of his cows that was involved
Was
in
the
the
aggressor.
incident. But I know that Paul is working on it right now. So I can let him know that, Kelly, you had a comment about
Yeah.
it today, and to provide some more information to the board about what's going on.
Where's the Garfield County line through there?
It's pretty close to
I was
there.
gonna say, so, I bet they're Garfield
Sure
County
that
cows.
cow hadn't come over from Garfield.
That's what I said, they're Garfield County. We're gonna put them on those oil tankers and send them back to Utah.
Our easement.
Yeah, so Paul's in touch with Bill, so he knows we're working on it, so that's good. And then if it needs to, we can have a stronger arm there and say, we're gonna dogs have to be on leash.
I believe
And-
that's correct.
Yeah, okay. Steve?
Or no dogs.
Or no
Just
dogs.
Depending
On
on
a
the time of year.
similar related note, I have heard of 2 serious injuries to humans by a mean cow by Marion Gulch trailhead area. And it might be the same
Cow?
same cattle, same, the spring, whatever the Thompson Creek Cattlemen's Association cattle is probably from one of those herds. And I don't know if there's anything that should be done to look at that. If we ever had a mean cow in our herd, next time we shipped any cattle, a mean cow would be gone out of our herd. That just is good practice for a rancher,
what's
but.
making all those cows pissed
um,
off?
The dogs that are running around off
But even
leash.
at
So
it
I don't
sounds like there
know,
might be some
I don't know
battle.
the specifics, if there was a dog with the people who got injured or what. Maybe the cow was going after a dog perhaps, but I think it could very well be related to the same similar issue.
Wow,
It very well may be the same issue that you're talking about.
got some grumpy cows up there.
I will make sure Paul
Yeah.
provides a update.
And Marion Gulch, I don't know if that's in that Spring Gulch conservation area or not.
I believe that the easement to the Marion Gulch trailhead goes through the Cattlemen Association's property, which Mr. Fales is a part of, and that is in the vicinity of Spring Gulch, so they're either the same incident or related incidents.
Okay. All right, any other open discussion? Steve, please.
I have 2 items. Number one, I got 2 copies of a book, What's Prison For, that I just got them. It's a short read. It's subtitled Punishment and Rehabilitation in the Age of Mass Incarceration. And I thought this was a timely subject to get this, just a small book to kind of stimulate our thinking about what purposes we want for our own county jail. And it really is, the whole book is written more about state, the penal system in large state prisons, but the issues are kind of still the similar issues to our thinking about what do we want our jail to be used for, the idea of rehabilitation of the people incarcerated there and whatnot. So I'm going to leave 1 copy for commissioners to read. If anybody wants to just take this one right now, you may. I have another one at home that I'm reading, and I thought I'd get that to Kim Bellario when I'm done. I showed it to her this morning, and she seemed interested in reading it also. So if anyone wants this, I could give it to you now, or just leave it. I'm going to leave it up in our office for
I'll have to
reference.
commit post November 8th. To leisurely reading about the jail. Yeah.
A second item, this Friday I will be meeting with the Club 20 Energy Subcommittee, and we are reviewing all of the Club 20 Energy policy statements, which there are about 20 of them. A lot of them are outdated, need editing. We're going to look for holes in the policy to fill in where there's things that have not been addressed for Western Colorado energy policy. And I would think this railroad transport of the oil might be one of the issues that Club 20 would want to take a look at possibly.
That would be an interesting discussion with Mason.
So they have stuff about renewable energy and stuff about uranium and oil and gas development. So it's kind of an all of the above. They're not just limited to resource extraction. I think there's some stuff about energy efficiency in there. So I just wanted to let you know I'm going to be doing that this Friday in person in Grand Junction. We're going to start tackling this. One of the other subcommittees on natural resources took about 2 years to go through all of the Club 20 policies and make recommendations. So I doubt it will finish everything this Friday, but we're getting a start on it. So I'm open to any thoughts. If anyone has things that you think Club 20 should be addressing for Western Colorado energy policy, that you want to make sure is in the policy, this is a good opportunity to, try to improve the policy and eliminate bad parts of the policy.
Okay. Anything else from the board? Steve, you did? I just have something to pass on real quick, Phyllis, too. For our regular meeting on November 16th, we need to hold the agenda as it is, unless something really critical comes up. We have a major land use item on that day, and we're starting to stack that deck a little too full.
What's the date again?
16th. So just November. Just a heads up so I don't forget. And we will be having our next agenda meeting, not this Thursday, not tomorrow, because we have EOTC. So I will be scheduling it for the following Thursday. So, right, please.
Paul is just walking down here to address your the cow circumstance.
The
If you'd
grumpy
like
cow
to hear
issue?
about it real quick, he'll be here in 1 minute.
Okay.
If you got
Cow trail conflicts. This is like true Pitkin County
The
stuff.
bovine revolution has
Here he
begun.
is.
Bad bovine.
Hi, Paul.
Hi, Paul. So we have some grumpy cows on our hands.
Whose hands are they on, actually?
Yeah.
They were grumpy. I think they've moved off the property.
Oh, they have?
They have, but somebody got hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I talked to Bill Fales in the Cattlemen's Association, and they do have the ability to make rules for that public access. Right now, they don't have a dog leash policy or rule, but they have every right to do that. So
if in the future they need to come back, we can facilitate
How
that.
do we interact with that rulemaking?
Well, we'll help them draft the new management plan and make sure that it all works out for the property and jive with our conservation easement. But as soon as we heard about it, we had a sign printed at our contractors and put it up there, warning people that there's an aggressive cow, and they should keep their dogs on leashes.
You know, I've dealt with a lot
Patty thinks this is
in
funny.
Pickens County, but I never thought I'd be dealing with grumpy cows. They're always so cute.
The whole world right now, right?
It happens. Yeah, I've bumped into a few.
Yeah,
But-
literally.
Yeah.
I know, and I feel bad for the person who was injured, but yeah, boy, you just never know what's going to be around the next corner.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, just that we took it very seriously. We got
Oh,
out
yeah.
there right away. We're going to work with Bill and the North Thompson cattlemen to see if we need to do any rule changes up there.
Okay.
And just to remind the public that it's private property, that we have worked out an agreement, and if rules change, it's because of actions of the public. It is kind of used as a dog leash,
Yeah.
dog off leash area.
I hiked that once when my daughter was about 9 years old, I think, with Diana DeGette when she was first running for office.
It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, it was gorgeous. Very different. It was, it was beautiful, stunning.
It's not uncommon, or wasn't back in the day, to be in the high country, and if you came across a sheep herder with his sheep, or there weren't cows in the high country back when I was thinking about it, but the sheep herder would shoot your dog if your dog was out of control,
Oh,
or
yeah.
even remotely, considered a
definitely.
threat by the sheep herder. That, they'd shoot your dog right in front of you, which didn't happen to us, but it was a threat, and we took it very seriously with our dogs.
Or you get attacked by their dog.
Or their dog, or there are
And
plenty
they
of.
got big dogs.
And they're protecting their flock, so it's an interesting dynamic, the way it's changed. I'm glad you put that sign up. I'm sorry about the injury to the person, that's never good. But also there's a certain amount of knowledge and awareness in backcountry travel that includes domestic and wild animals.
Yeah.
So,
I will say, so the way that the Thompson cattlemen use that property is they have 1 year they use the Marion Gulch Forest Service access. The next year they'll use the more southern portion of the access. So
Right.
we'll have a year to work with them. I don't think there's going to be many cows out there next year, so.
Wonder where they took the grumpy cows.
They left
CP
it.
Burger.
They left it up there. They are very good. The Thompson
They probably
cattlemen are
need
very good. If they find aggressive genetics, they get it out of there as soon as they can. So.
They probably knew just which cows were grumpy.
And if you saw Bill Fales limping around this
right.
year, there's a few
Yeah.
extra burgers out.
Yeah. Like Steve said, you got them out. You
Yeah,
took them out of the herd.
There are it's always, there are mean cows. It's like genetic or whatever, and it's not like this cow's mean one day and another one's mean another day. It's the same mean cow that you want to get
It's a cow
out of
with
the
an
herd.
attitude.
Cow
It's a
with
cow with
attitude.
attitude. Yeah.
Okay.
We're on
Interesting.
top of it.
Something
Thanks,
to learn.
yeah.
I learned about cows.
Learn
Thanks,
something new
Paul.
every day around here.
Appreciate
You'll
that.
see beef prices drop
Yeah.
slightly
It's
this
because
week.
cows are angry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mad. We didn't say mad cows.
They're not
We
mad.
just said grumpy cows.
Yeah, they're grumpy.
All right, Rye. Anything else on your end?
I don't have anything else,
Phyllis.
thank you.
We don't have anything, and I just asked John Peacock. He doesn't either.
Okay, John Ely, I think, left us.
See you, Paul. Thank
See ya.
you.
Paul, thank you very much. So, board, unless there's anything else,
Motion to
Please.
go away till next week.
till next Tuesday.
Tomorrow at EOTC.
Oh, EOTC,
right.
yeah, who is coming?
I'll be on Zoom.
Because you're going to be down Valley? Okay, and you're doing a loaner because Francie will
Well, I
still be-
texted Francie. If she gets back, we'll do it together.
Okay, then she just was flying today. Okay, and Greg, you'll be in person at
Reserve
City
the
Hall?
right to be on Zoom, weather dependent.
Okay, and you?
I'm planning on going in person.
Okay, I will be there
Right
in
now?
person, and I know there's an issue with Snowmass not being able to have a quorum, but an hour into the meeting, so we're hoping to get budget done that first hour. So, and I think we're pretty well versed on the EOTC budget for this year. Okay, so I have a motion, and I think I got a second.
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Grassroots.
Thank
you,
you.
Libby.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
staff.